I got in contact with Paul Sams of Blizzard, and he said, "We will not sell the movie rights, not to you, especially not to you." So what drew you to video game movies? Was it a cheap licensing cost? Like, walk me through the process of being like, okay, this would be a good story to make a movie about.
So it was basically during I did Heart of America, this film about like little school shooting, and I had like Elizabeth Moss in it, who turned into a big star later. And I think it's a very good film, and but it didn't make anything. So it didn't make money. Nobody paid any attention to it. And during that time, Mark Altman came to me from Mindfire Entertainment and said, "Look, I have the rights to House of the Dead from Sega. We wrote a script. Sega approved it, but we cannot get the film together. Like, I cannot raise the money." So I went to investors in Germany and said, "Look, we should try that video game based film to see if we can make it a success. If you make money on it, we see how it all develops." And that is why I got the money. It was around $7 million to do the film. And it was really, when it was done, at that point, Artisan and Lionsgate and Blockbuster, they all wanted to buy it. And we made the deal with Artisan, and then they got sold to Lionsgate. So it ended up at Lionsgate. And and it made money. I mean, it made way over 20 million in videos alone, and 11 million box office. And that is why we continued. So I had that investors, and they said, "Look, we're not paying you another drama or whatever. Try to get more video games, then we give you the money." And so they got good returns on House of the Dead. And that is how it all came to this. I was basically on a roll doing this kind of films. And at that time, if you hear a snoring in the back, it's my dog.
I love it.
Yeah, it's like she's like snoring in the back. I hear her. Yeah,
no worries at all. No worries at all. Okay. I love it. What's your dog's name?
Bessie.
Bessie, I love it.
Yeah, there's a little black Spitz also running around here. He's annoying. Good that he's.
I love it.
So that is how it all came together. And at that time period, it was not so hard to get the license for a fair price. Where I was lucky because Crytek, the Far Cry makers, they were in Frankfurt. I'm here by Frankfurt, living by Frankfurt. So I met them before they released Far Cry. And, and I said, "Look, I want to make that film. I want to buy the video rights, the film rights." And they sold it to me for like very low money. And that was the reason Ubisoft hated me later. Because I had the rights, and Ubisoft didn't promote the film, didn't want to have anything to do with it, because they missed out on millions they could make, of course, a few years later when it was the number one game in the market for it. And similar, Blood Rain, Alone in the Dark was also like, Atari was in a very bad position at that point in general, with Infogrames who bought Atari and all that stuff. So I got Alone in the Dark also cheap enough to say, "Look, let's do a film about it." So it was kind of a crazy situation, and I ran with it because as a filmmaker, you need to go there where the money is, right? So you cannot like afford to say, "No, I don't want the 20 million bucks to make that film, and instead I do no film." So that was the whole situation at that time period.
So it wasn't so much that you were passionate about the films or the source materials, more about it was more of a business decision, to be totally honest. That's what it sounds like.
Yes, and I think what the people couldn't handle is that I said that at that time too. It was that they hated me, that I didn't say I play video games 24/7 and whatever, that I just said it how it is. I said the same thing 15 years ago as I say right now. So, and some people hated me for it, but I'm just in a way straight, right? I say how it really is, and I always did that. And don't change my opinion only because the wind blows in my face. So, and I'm in a way also happy that I did it, because it made it possible to work with all that stars. And as a filmmaker, I think also, like, a lot of people don't get it, what filmmaking is. For me, it was never like I have that one idea and I work 7 years on that film to bring it to the screen with all my emotions and my whatever, right? So I see film is expensive, it's a business, and I love shooting films. So I don't want to wait 7 years to shoot a film and then think about another 7 years what I do next. So I like every year to make a film, or even two sometimes. So it's fun to do this, and it's fun to be on set. And it has nothing to do really with what you shoot, as long it's like good. It can be a poor genre film where it's just entertaining and zero political, or it's a Saul on Wall Street or Postal, where a lot of political things are in. Yeah.
You also notoriously reached out to Warcraft about trying to get that license. Can you talk a little bit about that? And I would like to read a quote really quick, and then I'll let you go into it. This is from you via the MTV blog in 2008. It says, he said, I got in contact with Paul Sams of Blizzard, and he said, "We will not sell the movie rights, not to you, especially not to you." What was that like?
Yeah, I mean, it was disappointing, but in a way, look at the film later. What they finally did with hundreds of millions of dollars. I think it was also not a good film, what finally came out of it. And I mean, that is also a thing, like, what is in the end better? Like, you spend 200 million and you do the Prince of Persia with Jake Gyllenhaal, or you do a straightforward, very bloody, sexy Blood Rain film with Kristanna Loken. So what is in the end the more entertaining film? And I grew up a lot at this point was in German TV was a lot of like US Western. So I grew up with John Wayne and this kind of films. And John Ford is a big hero of mine, for example, because, and in a way I do the films, I cannot compare myself with John Ford, but in that spirit of like, just tell the story, just move it forward and tell the story. And I think especially in today's time, a lot of the films that way too long, and they're not really telling the story. They're telling everything but the story. They're telling like all this character development and whatever. But then in the end, you are done with the film and you think, actually, so what was now the story from the whole thing? And I like to have in a way, when I make a film, I always go for a clearer structure to say, look, we have 100 minutes and not like 200 minutes. And then in that 100 minutes, you have to move it forward and tell the story you want to tell, and the characters serve the story, not like we have characters and no story. And I feel a lot of times now when I watch shows, I feel like that story you could tell in 20 minutes what was in that film.
But what do you think about this? Leave us a comment down below. We read every single one of them. Also, make sure you hit the subscribe button because you have found your home for common sense in the gaming and entertainment worlds.